Steelers Nation, let's talk about what's really going on, because this story is starting to feel bigger than just one bad game or a rough patch in the season. Something's shifting, and it starts with Aaron Rodgers. The guy looks like he's running for his life out there. And I don't just mean scrambling in the pocket. I mean trying to escape the chaos that's unfolding all around him. You can see it in his body language, in the way he's reacting to pressure, in the frustration that's written all over his face every single time he hits the turf. It's wild because we've seen Rodgers go through rough stretches before, but this feels different. This feels like a man who's tired of the hits, tired of the broken plays, and maybe, just maybe, questioning how much more he can take. Over the last few games, it's been obvious that he doesn't trust that offensive line anymore. He drops back, takes a quick look downfield, and then his instincts kick in. He wants out of there. They used to work back when he had that burst, that escape speed that let him turn broken plays into highlight reels. But those days are gone, and now it's starting to look like every time he tries to make something happen on the run, it turns into a disaster. It's giving flashbacks to what we saw happen with Russell Wilson when he came to Pittsburgh. Russ thought he could still play that old-school backyard football, spinning out of sacks, buying time, launching deep shots. But reality hit hard. Defenders are faster, smarter, and less forgiving. Rodgers, right now, is falling into that same trap, trying to play the hero when what the Steelers need is a commander in control. Let's go through it a bit, because the pattern tells the story. Remember back in Week 3 against the Patriots in Foxborough? Rodgers wasn't sacked a single time. The offensive line was sharp, and he was surgical with his passes. Then in Dublin the next week, yeah, he went down twice, but overall, he was efficient, nearly perfect, moving the chains and looking like a seasoned pro in full rhythm. After that, against Cleveland, even with that nasty defensive front led by Myles Garrett, the man stayed upright. No sacks. Same story in Cincinnati, clean pocket, clean game. Then came the Packers, and that's where things started to unravel. Facing his old team for the first time, Rodgers looked rattled. It wasn't about stats. It was about his reactions. The moment pressure came, he bolted. 3 sacks that game. Then again, 3 against the Colts, 3 more against the Chargers, and one of those even resulted in a safety. That's not coincidence anymore. That's a trend. And the numbers? They've nosedived. Completion percentage, yards per attempt, touchdowns, all falling off a cliff. Against the Chargers in Englewood, he put up one of the roughest stat lines of his entire career. 16 completions on 31 attempts, just over 160 yards, a late touchdown that didn't really matter, and 2 ugly interceptions. No pass longer than 27 yards. The entire performance just screamed frustration. You could feel it. The rhythm was gone, the confidence was gone, and the offense looked like it was stuck in mud. Now, here's where it gets tricky. You can't just write off a player like Aaron Rodgers. This is one of the greatest to ever do it. He's earned the benefit of the doubt, no question. But we also have to be real. The man is 41 years old. He's been hit more times than most quarterbacks could ever survive, and it's clear he doesn't want to take those hits anymore. And honestly, who could blame him? At this stage of his career, no one wants to keep getting slammed into the turf by guys half their age. But that's part of the game, and if he can't hang in there and deliver from the pocket, then the entire offensive structure starts to crumble around him. You can see it in how the line plays. When your quarterback starts bailing out of clean pockets, the linemen lose confidence. They stop trusting the protection schemes because they don't know where he's going to be. That's exactly what happened last year when Mason Rudolph took over and steadied the ship. Remember that? The moment Mason decided he wasn't going anywhere, that he'd stand in there, take the hit, and deliver the throw, the whole offense changed. The line toughened up. The running game started clicking. Receivers ran their routes knowing the ball would come out on time. It was a ripple effect, and it pulled the Steelers right back into the playoff picture. Rodgers needs some of that same grit right now. He needs to trust his protection, stay put, and take command like the legend he is. And speaking of command, let's not ignore the man calling the plays. Arthur Smith is under the microscope too, and honestly, it's fair. The Steelers ranked 29th in total offense this season. That's bottom of the league territory, averaging barely 280 yards per game. Only the Raiders, Browns, and Titans are worse. That's not company you want to keep if you're aiming for January football. Sure, the scoring numbers are a little better, middle of the pack, but most of those points came off turnovers, short fields, and defensive takeaways. That's not sustainable offense, that's opportunism. The real issue is identity. What kind of offense are the Steelers trying to be? Early in the season, everyone was pumped about the idea of a power-running, smash-mouth style, heavy sets, multiple tight ends, pounding defenses until they broke. That sounded like old-school Pittsburgh football, but somewhere along the way, that vanished. Instead, we got this mix of hesitation and overthinking. You get a second in one situation, and instead of running straight ahead, they call a deep shot. You get second and 4, and suddenly it's a penalty or a broken play. That's not execution, that's indecision. And the price of that indecision shows up on third down when the team can't convert. It's not the third downs themselves that are the problem. It's everything leading up to them. Rodgers, at his best, thrives when the offense has rhythm, when the short passes open up the big ones, when the running game sets the tone. The Steelers have the personnel to do it. Najee Harris, Jalen Warren, Darnell Washington, George Pickens, but they're not using them the right way. Imagine a drive where Rodgers just focuses on quick releases, hitting tight ends across the middle, letting Washington drag defenders for extra yards. Suddenly it's second and manageable. The defense is on its heels, and now you've got options. That's what this offense is missing, flow. It's all stop and go, too many deep shots, too many missed chances to build momentum. You could tell Rodgers knows it too. He's visibly frustrated, mouthing off on the sidelines, shaking his head at receivers who aren't where they're supposed to be. And honestly, it's hard to watch a player of his caliber, someone who built his career on timing, precision, and control, look so out of sync. Maybe it's the system. Maybe it's the line. Maybe it's just Father Time finally catching up. But whatever it is, it's dragging the whole team down, and unless something changes fast, it's going to define the rest of the Steelers season. There's still time, though. This team has too much talent to go quietly. They've shown flashes of what they can be: tough, balanced, disciplined. But it all starts under center. Rodgers doesn't need to be vintage Rodgers. He just needs to be steady Rodgers. Stand tall, make the throw, trust your guys. The rest will follow. The offensive line will play harder for him. The receivers will believe again. And the play calling might even start to open up once there's confidence back in the system. Because right now, the Steelers aren't losing games because they're being outclassed. They're losing because they've lost belief in their own rhythm. And if there's one thing we know about Pittsburgh football, it's that when this team finds its identity, they're a nightmare for anyone to face. But until then, the spotlight stays on Aaron Rodgers, not just to see if he can turn things around, but to see if he still has that fire, that fight that made him one of the greats. Because if he can find that again, even just a spark of it, then maybe, just maybe, this season can still be salvaged. So here's where things get interesting, Steelers Nation. Because while everyone's looking at Aaron Rodgers and wondering if he's lost his edge, the truth is the issues go way deeper than one man. The offense feels disconnected, like each piece is operating on its own timeline. The play calling doesn't match the rhythm of the quarterback, the routes don't match the timing of the throws, and the protection doesn't match the tempo of the plays. That's not just execution, that's philosophy. And until the coaching staff decides what this offense is supposed to be, we're going to keep seeing the same story every Sunday. Arthur Smith came in with a reputation for building physical, punishing offenses, the kind that control the line of scrimmage, grind down defenses, and let the quarterback work off play action. But right now, that identity is nowhere to be found. The Steelers have flashes, a power run here, a great block there, but there's no commitment to it. One drive looks like a run-first game plan, and the next one turns into a pass-heavy circus. You can't develop chemistry or rhythm when your philosophy changes every series. And Rodgers, for all his brilliance, is not a magician anymore. He needs structure. He needs predictability in the best sense of the word, to know that when he drops back, the protection will hold, the routes will be timed, and the system will support him. You watch the tape, it's almost painful. Second and short situations, where any smart offense would pound the ball, become wasted opportunities with low-percentage throws or penalties that kill momentum. It's the kind of self-inflicted damage that drives fans crazy, but it also destroys confidence inside a locker room. Because players start to feel that no matter how hard they work, the plan isn't setting them up to succeed. And when that happens, frustration spreads fast. You can see it on the sideline. You can see it in the huddles. Guys start pointing fingers, not out of selfishness, but out of confusion. Everyone's wondering why it looks so hard. Rodgers' demeanor tells you everything. The man's competitive fire is still there. You don't play over 2 decades in the NFL without that edge. But there's a fatigue in his face that's hard to ignore. When a quarterback starts glancing toward the sideline after every stall drive, it's not just about frustration. It's about uncertainty. He doesn't trust what's coming next. You can almost see him thinking, what are we doing out here? And when that creeps in, even the simplest plays fall apart. A routine check down becomes a misread. A sure completion turns into hesitation. That split second of doubt is all it takes in this league. What makes it tougher is that this team actually has weapons. The young receivers have potential. The tight ends, especially Darnell Washington, are physical mismatches waiting to happen. The running back tandem of Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren could be one of the most balanced in football if used properly. But right now, they're just names on paper because the scheme doesn't give them the consistency they need to shine. One week, Warren gets hot, making plays in space, and the next week he barely touches the ball. That's not on him. That's on the lack of commitment to an offensive identity. And that's where Arthur Smith really has to step up. No more trying to be everything at once. No more overthinking third downs or chasing big plays when the basics aren't working. This offense doesn't need to be explosive. It needs to be efficient. It needs to move the ball, control the clock, and take the pressure off Rodgers. The defense is doing its job. They're keeping games close. They're forcing turnovers, and they're giving this team chances to win. But an exhausted defense can only hold up for so long when the offense keeps going 3 and out. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Whispers are spreading fast through NFL circles, and they all seem to center around one name, DK Metcalf. The star wide receiver, whose arrival in Pittsburgh was meant to usher in a new offensive era, might already be packing his bags. Multiple league insiders have hinted that Metcalf's relationship with the Steelers organization has grown tense in recent weeks, fueling speculation that a split could be on the horizon. It's hard to imagine the Steelers parting ways with a player of Metcalf's caliber so soon. His blend of size, speed, and raw athleticism makes him one of the most feared deep threats in the league. But behind the scenes, sources suggest the chemistry between Metcalf and the coaching staff hasn't fully clicked. Some have pointed to disagreements over his role in the offense, while others whisper about frustration with play calling and limited targets. The wideout's body language on the sidelines has also caught attention. Sharp exchanges, quiet stares, and a noticeable lack of the fiery energy he's known for. Though no one inside the organization has gone on record, it's clear that something is brewing. One anonymous team official reportedly described the atmosphere as tense but professional, a phrase that usually signals more trouble than calm. Fans, meanwhile, are torn. Many hoped Metcalf would be the missing piece in Pittsburgh's offensive puzzle, while others now wonder whether his personality and the team's old-school culture were ever a natural fit. Rumors have already begun linking him to several potential suitors, franchises that could offer a fresh start and a system tailored to his explosive skill set. For now, the Steelers remain tight-lipped, and Metcalf himself has chosen silence, only adding to the intrigue. Whether this storm fizzles out or erupts into a blockbuster move remains to be seen. But one thing is certain. The noise around DK Metcalf's future in Pittsburgh isn't going away anytime soon. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Pittsburgh Steelers, make sure to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.